Hi, today's talk is about a new stack for mobile application development. It is based on the autonomous JSON database and parse server, and it's called Oracle Backend for Parse Platform. My name is Doug Drexel. I currently work as a developer evangelist, and part of that role is looking at ways to make Oracle technology more accessible for the developer community. So today's agenda is going to talk about what a mobile backend as a service is and how that stack is deployed to the Oracle Cloud. Then we'll show creating and running a mobile application against the stack, and also demo creating and running a mobile app locally against the new Oracle free 23C Docker database image. So how does a backend as a service simplify a developer's life? Well, it does what it says. It makes the backend as a service by combining the database and servers into a black box that offers a broad API set for client application development. And mobile backend as a service is that same thing, except the API set is a broad mobile-focused API set. It has all the things that a mobile application would expect from a platform. Once the stack is deployed, you need two pieces of information to start developing against that stack, and that would be the server endpoint and a unique application ID. In the initialization of your mobile application, you connect to the server and start developing. Parse Platform is an open source mobile backend as a service application stack, and it's based on an Express Node.js server. It currently supports MongoDB and Postgres, but the work we've been doing has added an Oracle storage adapter to that set, and we use the Oracle Node database packages to connect to the autonomous JSON database. Another thing we liked about it was there was a comprehensive unit test suite, which made doing this work easier. And we're currently in talks with the Parse Platform team to upstream our code. So Parse really does have a large feature set. And when you compare it to Google Firebase, which is a leader in the mobile app platform, it measures favorably. It has support for file storage. The stack that we deploy provisions an S3 bucket, so you can store images and recordings just out of the box. We use the demo application we are going to show uses the out-of-the-box authentication that Parse provides, but it also supports OAuth and other third-party providers. It supports subscriptions to data modification with something called live queries. It supports GraphQL, geolocation, offline storage, push notifications, all the things that a mobile developer would like to do. And lastly, the set of SDKs it supports. It's a robust set of SDKs. We've developed with React Native, Flutter, and Unity. I've used JavaScript, REST, GraphQL. All these SDKs are supported, and they all support the Parse Platform API, which is a rather robust mobile development API that has pretty much APIs for all your mobile application development needs. Okay, so the stack is on the marketplace. You could deploy it into your tenancy right now. The stack provisions a JSON database, an OK cluster, and an S3 bucket, and it wires all these things up. And it also provisions a parse dashboard, which is a parse management dashboard that I will demo when we look at the stack. And this is also part of another stack called Oracle Backend for Spring Boot, which is a really nice offering that we have. So here it is. You can see parse in the upper right-hand corner, but what Oracle Backend for Spring Boot is a full-blown microservices environment for developing Spring Boot microservices. So it has the mobile backend, it has security, it has workflow, it has observability, it has all the things that a microservices development environment should provide. It also has MicroTX, which is a cloud native version of Tuxedo that allows you to do transactions. It also supports, so there's a common paradigm in microservices transaction processing to update your data store and send a message. And you can do that with the Oracle database and advanced queuing and combine that into one transaction. And we also have the ability, Parse provides the ability through the Parse dashboard I mentioned earlier to construct webhooks that can call these Spring Boot services. So you can offer some of the Spring Boot services to your mobile application developers once creating the webhook. And I also want to point out for our Spring Boot platform that we have a plugin for Visual Studio Code that helps for rapid development. Okay, and now with that brief overview, I want to get into a demo of the Oracle Backend for Parse Platform stack. Hi, so the following demo is going to illustrate the different resources that are allocated when you provision the Oracle Backend for Parse Platform. This is where you begin. It's the Oracle Cloud Marketplace. You have an Oracle tenancy, you have access, you should be able to provision this right now. But let's talk about this. If you hit Get App, you'll go through, you'll get a bunch of prompts, and then the marketplace will provision the whole stack into a compartment in your tenancy. So let's go take a look at that. This is an Oracle tenancy. It offers a lot of functionality that is provided by a lot of cloud providers. I think it's pretty simple to use, but I've sort of grown up on it. But when you deploy a stack, we go down to developer services, look at this menu, and you will find your deployed stack in stacks. So let's go to stacks. I've actually deployed my stack into the MBAS compartment. You see a couple stacks here, but we're going to look at the sanity test stack, which is my most recent deployment. And we go in here, it all looks good, it's active, status succeeded, everything worked. So we could go take a look at the job that was actually run, and you'll be able to see the log here. And if you're really interested, you could go through this, and it shows you all the resources that were deployed upon creation of the stack. But what's really of interest here is outputs. This gives you what you need to get started. Earlier, I said you needed 2 pieces of information to start writing your mobile app against this stack. One is application ID, one is the parse endpoint. You also get the link to your parse dashboard and link to your kubeconfig command. So let's go take a look at the cluster that was provisioned. So let me copy that and start up Cloud Shell for my account. This should take just a second. There we go. And if I go over here, paste that command, get my kubeconfig for my mobile backend cluster, and we're ready to take a look at it. So let's go All right, here's the cluster. You can see the pods. We have 3 instances of the parse server, 1 instance of the parse dashboard. We have an instance of the Oracle database operator, which is similar in functionality to every other Kubernetes operator. What I'd like to let you know is this just went GA. You can see the code here, and it basically manages the life cycle of an Oracle database. And that's what was used to connect the Oracle database to the pods in this cluster. Well, that's what we used to create the Oracle database and then make sure it was sane and wire it up with the cluster. It's a nice piece of software. And then we have all the Kubernetes pods, and we have Nginx as our endpoint. Okay, so that is the cluster. Let's go down here. You also get a database. Let's go take a look at that database. Let's go to databases, autonomous database. And here you have my sanity test database that was created with the stack. Let's go take a look at that. Here's your landing page for the database. All your database general information, configuration, a bunch of tabs up here show how to create your database connection. There's just a ton of things you can do here, but what I'm interested in is getting to the JSON dashboard. Parse server deals with schemaless and collections and documents, and Oracle is able to create a JSON database instance, and you can manage it just like any other JSON database. So if we go down to database actions and we click view all database actions, we are taken to the login page. So this information can be gotten from one of the logs in your cluster. Let's sign in. And here we go. Not now. All right, so here's a bunch of different capabilities that you have access to. Scheduling, JSON, REST, SQL, charts. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but what I'm interested here is JSON. So let's go take a look at our JSON database instance. And here you'll see the collections that have been created already. The collections with the underscores preceding them are parse system collections, right? And there's one collection here called game score that has one document that is a user created collection. So there you go, you get the database, and you also get a bucket for file storage. So let's go look at that. Storage, buckets. Oh, as you'll see here, there is no bucket in my MBAS compartment, but that's because the bucket we chose to create was an S3 compatible bucket because parse comes with S3 compatibility built in. So in an Oracle tenancy, there's only one compartment that supports S3 functionality, and you usually have to ask your administrator what compartment that is. In this tenancy, it's the MAA manageability compartment, and if you are there, you will see my sanity test bucket. Oh, look, we have something in the bucket. What a sin. I wanted to show something here, but I'm going to show it anyhow. When I first showed this to some of my teammates, this was empty, and one of them mentioned that the bucket looked lonely and how difficult would it be to demonstrate illustrating how to upload files in the stack. And I'm going to show you, it's not bad at all. So let's go look at the parse dashboard. I'm going to get to that, just watch. So in the parse dashboard, You have a browser where you can go through the collections. Here's the game score collection. It shows a couple system collections you can look at, sessions, users. But you can configure webhooks. Another teammate wrote a great article that's at the end of this presentation that shows how you would create a webhook through this dashboard to call out to some of the Spring services if you're using Parse in conjunction with our Spring Boot product. And that's super easy because all you need to do is configure, give it a function name, set up the webhook URL, and you can start using your mobile app to hit Spring Boot services. But what I want to talk about here that's of interest to me is the API console. It lets you test out different kinds of Parse APIs. It has support for REST. It has support for GraphQL, and it has support for JavaScript. So here's the JavaScript console, and this is what I went into to sort of figure out how I would go about pushing up files to the bucket. And I know this is a very simple, contrived example, but hey, once you get something that works, you can then take that, stick it into your mobile app. But now I'm going to call this demo file.txt, right? I'm going to save the changes, and I will run it. And it looks like it's done. So now if we go back to our bucket and refresh the screen, we should see that there are now 2 entries in the bucket. Boom, there you go. So I found this really helpful. I was able to quickly look at the docs, develop a little bit of code, and make sure that my stack could support pushing files up to buckets. That's the end of this demo. Thanks for watching. .23c has a new feature called a JSON relational duality. This means that a user can create JSON writable views on existing SQL data. The mobile app stack can take advantage of these JSON views. This means that your current SQL-based data can be made available to the mobile platform by just defining these views. A few team members wrote mobile apps in different SDKs using the Parse API. I ended up writing with Flutter since React Native was already taken. There was a rock, paper, scissors app written using Unity, a gaming SDK. The following demo will be of a Flutter app running against the stack. I like using Flutter. I like the tagline, build apps for any screen, and I look forward to using the WebAssembly support that should be coming in 2023. The Flutter mobile app demo implements a game score application. Game score is Parse's Hello World. This demo will show how to attach to the stack, how to do authentication, how session objects are allocated, and how to add data to those objects, and it will show how to log out of the application. Hi, so now I would like to demo a simple mobile app written in Flutter running against the stack, the mobile backend as a service. This is a public repository, and it has the code that you're going to see. It's my first crack at writing a mobile app, so all you mobile app power users don't laugh too much, but it's going to show a few simple things. And let's see, one of those things is in main.dart, these are the 2 bits of information you need to start developing against the stack. So all the stuff I showed you before, Kubernetes cluster, database, buckets, you really don't have to know or muck around with to start developing your mobile app. So this is in the main of main.dart. I valued these things. I started the simulator and built the application, so it's all preloaded for us. And I just want to demonstrate a few things as I walk through. Okay, so this is all good. You see the Flutter done message that I had down here. It shows me that I'm connected and my app was loaded into the simulator. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have a user already populated, and we're going to log in. Okay, and now we're on the landing page. I have a simple little bottom bar down here, but I want to show you in the dashboard, right? Let's refresh this. After I logged in, we now have a session. So you can see a session that will point at the user. And in this session, during the length of the duration that the user is logged in, you can add data. You can actually store data in the session, which is kind of nice. And I'm going to show that. But let's go back to the simulator. First, let's go get our game scores. There was only one, which we saw before. Let's go back here. Here's the game score. Here's Jerry. If you go into putdata.dart, just a little bit, you will see an enter game score. I have a bit of code here that gets the current session and then sets some data in it, right, called my data. And right now, the session does not have a column called my data. So let's go and back to enter game scores and add some game scores. Fred is a score of 2,500. Enter, and we have Barney has a score of 250,000, but Barney cheated, and we'll enter. And let's go back and look at our dashboard, and we will see our new additions to the game score collection. But if we go look at the session, we'll also see now there is a new my data column entered. This is my string, so this is kind of nice. You can carry around session data, access it in between your different phone screens, and use it in whatever way you deem necessary. So let's go back to the simulator and let's list game scores. I actually have to do a refresh. So there you go. We just grabbed the new game scores. And let's log out. Log out, are you sure? Log out. Okay. And if we go back here and refresh, you will see that the session is gone because the sessions only exist as long as the user is logged in. You will see that the field data that we added will stay with the schema. So if you do it, be careful because it'll be part of the schema. I mean, really, if you made a mistake or something, you can just go up here and say, where we go? So delete a column, give it the name, and say remove, and then you're back to where you started. So that was really simple mobile application demo running against the Oracle stack. Thanks. The next demo will run the same GameScore mobile app, except it will be run against the new free 23C Oracle Docker image. Yes, you heard correctly, a free Oracle database Docker image under the new Oracle free use license. The image is 10 gigabytes and took about a minute to reach the healthy state on my PowerBook. The command line tool to work with the image is SQL-CL. To enable SOTA support, use SQL-CL to log in as the system DBA and run the following grants listed here. To work with the specific database instance, log in as PDB admin, which is the default user associated with the Docker image. This login allows working with the database attached by parse server. Now, as this user, you can work with the collections and documents that make up the current database instance. To configure and run parse server, first you need to configure the connection string in config.json. This is the default connection string and should just work with the free 23C image. The next thing you have to do is install the client libraries, the Oracle Instant Client, and make sure they're accessible, and then boot the server using this npm command. And then the server will connect to your local database and you can start development, which the following demo will show. Hi, so this demo is going to show how to build and test a mobile application against a completely local stack using the new free 23C Oracle Docker image and running parse server locally. So I've started the image. I've started the Oracle free 23C image. It's been up for a few days. And now I want to boot parse server so it connects to that. And then when I am developing my mobile app, I will hit the parse server endpoint. So I'm in the root directory of parse server, and there's a file here called config.json. I just want to look at it very quickly. It has, a small subset of the configuration parameters you can pass into parse server when you boot it. But what I wanted to point out is this is the connection string to the local database image. For these examples, I've used all the defaults. So if you just follow this, it should just work. Okay, so there you go. Let's boot up parse server. All right, so here you go. I do have to point to the Insta client and grab those libraries, but that's it. That's the command. So let's kick off the server. Okay, server has successfully connected to the database image. So now I am going to start up my project in Visual Code and use the iOS simulator. Okay, so I've started my simulator and I've built my project and it's been deployed. I just want to point out that in main.dart, instead of using the URL for our mobile backend as a service stack hosted in the Oracle Cloud, we are using our parse server localhost URL. But before we play around with the app, I want to connect to our local Docker image, and we do that using SQL-CL, or the SQL client. So this is the string for connecting to your local Docker database image. And again, this is JSON, this is collections and documents. So in Oracle, we use SOTA commands to work with those constructs. So there you go. There's the parse server internal system tables prefixed with the underscore, and there's the one user table game score. So you can see what's in there. And you see we have 4 records if you want to, or I'm sorry, documents. If you want to look at one, Let's copy the key and take a look. So if you need to know about soda commands, you can just do soda question mark, and that will help you out. So let's go back to our code and our simulator. All right. Like before, we'll just log in, the user. Okay, and now we're sort of in the landing page for our application. It's good. Get the game scores that are locally. There's the 4 scores: George, Ringo, Paul, and John. I want to enter a game score. Billy. Give that 2,500. Enter. And that's right. I wanted to save an image before we logged out, or create a new collection and save something to it. So fortunately, in our logout logic, somebody left some code, commented out. This is a very contrived example, but maybe before a user logs out, you want to save what's in their cart. So I comment that code out, and we're going to use the hot redeploy with Flutter. I'm sure most mobile apps support similar functionality. So you'll see down here, the hot redeploy happening when I save this file. And there you go, hot reload, hot deploy. So now this is in my logout logic. So let's see if it works. Let me go over here and log out. Log out. Yes. Are you sure? And I've logged out. So now let's go back to our database and see if we have a new collection. And we do. Item selected. So I like that. I find that's a very powerful, quick way to iterate in your development environment. And you can now do that with Oracle and the free 23C Docker image with the storage adapter for Parse Server. Thanks for watching. So Oracle has a new offering for mobile application development. It provides numerous capabilities for improving developer velocity. It has hot redeployment for quickly iterating source changes. It has local dev and test using the new 23C free database image. It has code playgrounds that allow a user to experiment with the Parse API and prototype their code. And it provides a full-featured mobile backend as a service stack capable of supporting all the application's cloud resource needs. What do I hope you remember from this presentation? That Oracle backend platform for Parse makes it super easy to develop mobile apps anywhere. Thanks for your time.